So about 5 years ago, a guy called Cloud8745, who I used to watch, made a video about his top N64 games, and I made a video response and did that back when video responses were a thing, and he liked it and he thought it was cool. But I don't really have that video anymore. I loosely remember the list, but because there's so many N64 games that I do like, a lot of them being spin-offs, I wanted to do this list again, but this time as a top 20. Now, because it's a top 20, I'm going to be kind of brief, just so we don't have like a huge asinine long video. I'm going to try to keep it under 30. But yeah, we're going to quickly run through this. I'm going to try and do my best to be constructive about it and show you guys what my favorite N64 games are. The only rules is like one per franchise, so only one Zelda, only one James Bond, only one Metroid, etc. Something like that. Again, this one is going to be kind of cheating because spin-offs are huge on this list, but everything else is one per franchise. So at the bottom of our list, we're going to put Pokemon Stadium. The reason it's at the bottom is because, bluntly, as nice of a game as it is, if you don't own a copy of Pokemon Red, Blue, or Yellow, it's kind of pointless to own altogether, because the game cheats. So Gen 1 was pretty bad already, but it's even worse when you have like ridiculously hard AI. But at the same time, you kind of can't match the overall appeal of seeing, you know, at the time, your first Pokemon huge up on the screen, and it was just like a nice built combat simulator that was really the only thing I got to have, because I never got to play an RPG-based Pokemon game until about 2006. So yeah, that kind of mattered to me. Stadium 2 shit. Snap is short and boring, so I gotta give it to Stadium. Next up is Cruisin World, mostly because, well, I like it a lot, but at the same time it's low because as far as overall game length goes, it gets you like maybe a day, or if you're really, really dedicated, then you got a lot more out of it. To me, it feels like the perfect sequel that USA wanted to be, just like a lot looser, a lot better looking, a lot more creative, a lot more cars, a lot more content, just everything about it was perfect at that time. And that's what made it really good. The problem is just it's a racing game, so you're only going to get as much out of it as you feel the need to, because it kind of gets repetitive. But it's still awesome, and it's even better when you turn on Game Shark codes, and then you find out that there's a bus that you can make look like is covered in blood, and is the most hilarious thing ever. And that's the only reason that this makes my list at all, is because Blood Bus is the fucking best thing I've ever seen in a video game. Next up is another racer, which again, it's low because it's a racer. But it still had a lot of huge appeal to it, mostly for the things that the Cruisin games kind of lacked, and that was like more customizable stuff and then stunt tracks. Now, I prefer Rush 2 over 2049 because 2049 is a lot stricter with some of their stuff. It's harder to unlock stuff. You can't do the levitation, you can't do invincibility plus suicide mode, but all that is present in Rush 2, and it doesn't feel as needlessly annoying to go through. It just feels fun, mindless, and there you go. That's about all there is to it. It's great, I love it. It's just not the game that you're going to pick up and play for a whole week straight. Now, this one I think is really underappreciated, but it's not super high on my list because, well, I have like mixed feelings. I really like it, and I wish more Bomberman games were like it. I wish if they kept going in this direction, they would have had like, you know, more cool Bomberman games out there. I didn't play 64, and Second Attack is $200, so I don't really feel like owning that. But Bomberman Hero just felt like this nice direction for them to go in that didn't feel like out of the ordinary. It felt perfect for what the N64 could do. The game looked clean, and it was full of unique concepts and ideas. It's just really hard. This was a game I didn't get to play as a kid, but I feel like if I did, I probably would have liked it, because I feel like it's a strong Kirby game, and the ability to combine power-ups makes it that much more imaginative and creative and memorable and stand out. And as far as the collectibles go, it's not even like really hard pressed to get everything. It's pretty simple, it's pretty easy. It's like, yeah, there's shit you can pick up to have fun with, you know, we offer something, but it's not off the walls, asshole, annoying, or ridiculous, or super fucking over the top challenging. It's just the right balance of fun and effort required. Also, again, I can't praise the fucking power-ups enough. It's just super awesome to do Firework Kirby, Fire Sword Kirby, Electric Boulder, so on. They're all so cool. I love them. Another one I didn't get to play as a kid, but I know I would have felt right at home doing it, because even as an adult, when I played it for the first time, I felt that nice sense of nostalgia and wonderment that it's like, man, this is my kind of thing. It felt like it kind of captured the era of time that it was produced in. It was Rare, it was Banjo, it was everything it needed to be, and it was good, it was fun. The only real downside to it is that it was just lengthy as all hell. But at the same time, it felt so worthwhile to keep trying and keep going for it. Nothing really felt too spread out. I was intimidated by it at first, but everything is kind of joined together and like in an attempt to make it easy. It's just there's a lot of content. This is another one that I think is like really great, really underappreciated, but at the same time, I'll be blunt and say it is a tad bit annoying to play, because if you're not aiming for 100%, you're pretty much not aiming to beat the game at all, and that's kind of discouraging. So if you don't know what you're doing, it's not as enjoyable, but when you know what you're doing, it's really fun, it's really creative, it's got a lot of uniqueness to it, it's just perfect, it's awesome. I really wish that Playtonic chooses to revisit some of their other IPs so we could have spiritual successors to something like this as well, because I would love to see some sort of idea like this revisited in a modern way, but still with the Rare charm that they were able to establish back in the day. Alright, so now we start off with SpinOff City, and this is pretty much only applicable to Mario games, but I felt like it would be a crime for me to not include all the Mario games that I felt like mattered to me on the N64, and this is one of them because it's such a huge game franchise. Mario Party. I prefer 1 over 2 for a laundry list of reasons, the number one reason being that it's 100% of a game, as to where Mario Party 2 is 40% of a game, so it's fucking better in that respect, and then a bunch of other reasons that I'll get into in a very heated video whenever I decide I get off my ass and maybe try it again. But Mario Party 1 just felt much better in every way, shape, and form. I haven't played 3, I feel like I would enjoy 3, but at the same time, right now, it's between Mario Party 1 and 2 for me, so I'm always going to have to side with 1, because 2 is fucking trash. Next off on SpinOff City is another one that I didn't want to include, because at the time Cloud was saying between the two he would pick Paper Mario over Mario 64, as to where I hadn't played Paper Mario at the time, so I was like, yeah, Mario 64. But Paper Mario is its own demon, and I can't express to you just how amazing it felt for me to play the first time. I think I was 19, 20, to feel like a fucking 6-year-old kid again, and feel like a nostalgia that was never there, that I'd never felt before, to say, oh my god, I would have loved this as a child, why didn't I play it? It's so charming, it's so lovable, there's so much good in it. I wish I had been able to experience it more in my life, but the idea that I was able to experience it all, I'm happy about, because it's a fucking awesome game, and it's a crime to not include it and disregard everything I've just said, because it deserves it. The other trend you're going to notice with this list is that it's either Mario or Rare, but Rare did a lot of good and technically original IPs, so it's not cheating. But this one just feels like it's a crime not to include as well. Like, it didn't give me the same nostalgic thing, but when I first turned it on, I was like, oh my god, this game looks fucking fantastic for N64. The music is fantastic. Finding out that it actually had a co-op mode was like the biggest fucking deal, because that wasn't there for the N64. That's the only co-op shooter you can fucking play, unless you count the Floyd part in Jet Force, then yeah, maybe. But that was a huge deal to me. The idea that the frame rate goes to shit kind of sucks, but it was still so much fun for me to play that, grown up, and then be like, yeah, 2-player James Bond, let's fucking do this. It felt like everything that they wanted to do with the freedom that they had to do it, and I feel like it deserves the praise. And this is another one that I wish Playtonic would go back after they're done with Yuka and be like, yeah, let's make a spiritual successor to this. Because if you've heard about Did You Know Gaming, you know that they had so many other unique ideas that they wanted to turn this franchise towards. I wish they could have done it. It would have been great. I loved what they did with Perfect Dark. I want them to make a successor to that, or at least a new first-person shooter with their own creative minds, because they make fucking gold when they do it. And this is another rare one, but you know, it deserves all the praise in the world because it left a mark on the N64 era and in gaming in general, and nothing has come close to doing what they did back then. It's also got this huge legacy of being like a rare, quote-unquote, not pun, game, which also kind of makes it even cooler, the idea that I physically own a copy and I got to experience it. But it's so charming. You could argue, haha, toilet humor, it's bad if you want to. I don't care, because I look at it as more like snide British humor and parodies of pop culture, because that was really what they were doing with most of their content. So in that aspect, you know, that's pick and choose your humor, but as a game, I think it's very strong, designed very well, and very fun. This one and I also have a lot of fun memories, but I know that some people kind of don't like the direction it departed from with Yoshi's Island, which that's fine if you don't, but I personally loved it because there's so many different ways you can go through it, even though it's limited, but at the same time it's also only as challenging as you choose to make it. So if you want a harder experience, you can make it harder for yourself. If you want to play it easily, you can make it easy for yourself. And you get to choose the fucking color of Yoshi you want. That's minor, doesn't really matter, but it felt like it mattered to me for whatever reason. It's also loaded with a lot of cool levels and a lot of memorable things in it. So I do adore it. Yoshi's one of my favorite characters. It's fucking awesome to have a Yoshi game that's not ass. Not saying that Yoshi's Island is ass, just saying that it's a lot easier than Yoshi's Island. This is another spin-off one for you, but it felt like it mattered to me because this is like the only game my entire family will sit down and play, and everyone will enjoy it. It's a simple concept, it's fun, it's strategic, it's the best Dr. Mario, period. It's got more character in it than any other Dr. Mario. It feels like they bothered putting an effort into it. When I first got it, I was really skeptical, thinking that was going to be a dumb game, but it kind of turned out to be one of my favorites. It's a fun puzzle game. It's Dr. Mario. What the fuck's not to love? Between the two, I think I like Great Adventure better. It's a solid platformer. It's got a lot of memorable castles and memorable boss fights. Everything is loaded with character. And it's got co-op, so it was always something me and my brother could play together. It was fun, it made it a lot easier. I like Mystical Ninja, it had a lot of charm to it, but I feel like the content just stretches out a little bit further in Great Adventure. Great Adventure, however, is quite a bit harder, especially if you're playing by yourself. Alright, we're starting to hit the end here. Now, I remember this one being on my list because I was like, yeah, this one's going to be unique. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I think that's without a doubt probably still to this day one of the best Mortal Kombat games, period. I think the first 3 games did a nice setup of what they were trying to do, but Trilogy really hit it when they're like, hey, you know everything exists? Boom, slap it into a fucking game. Enjoy. You're not going to see that kind of thing anywhere else. It's got the entire fucking cast, the entire fucking levels. It's got like 6 different finishing moves that you can choose from. And it's tight gameplay. It's got little Easter eggs in it. It's awesome. It's memorable. Mortal Kombat 4 I like, and I think it did the 3D thing a lot better than, you know, Deadly Alliance and Deception, but Trilogy still will always stand as one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games ever. And it might be because of nostalgic bias, because it was the first one I played, but I feel like it just handles a lot better and offers a lot more than the other things that are trying to compete with it. Now this one's hugely important to history for the fact of what it did. It was revolutionary, it did a lot, but on a subjective basis, it was also a really fun game for me. It hasn't aged perfectly, but I still say it holds up enough to still be fun and people still come back and play to it. I really like it. I think it's one of the best balances of a Super Mario game. Sunshine had too little levels, too many stars in it. Galaxy had too many levels, not enough stars, but this had the perfect blend. Next to that's going to be Galaxy, but 64 just felt right at home. Here's one world, explore, have fun. We'll give you a loose underline of what to do, but you still had all the freedom in the world. Everything was super simple, nothing was too demanding. It just felt right. It was kind of the home it needed to be, and it did a good job at it. We need a new Mario game like this. We haven't had one in about 6 years. I don't know why they didn't bother making one for the Wii U, but we need a new Mario 64-esque game. Alright, this is our last stop off the SpinOff Express. I'm sorry there's so much Mario love, but again, I feel like all of these games have importance for a huge reason, and it felt like such a crime to cut out so many of them, which is why I made this a top 20. Because, to me, as far as I am aware, this was the first video game I ever played. It was either that or Trilogy. My parents say Trilogy. My grandma, who has recorded evidence, says it was probably Mario Kart, so I'm gonna side with her. But this game is also one of my favorite Mario Karts. I think it stands out the best. It's not too challenging. You can make it easier for yourself if you're not happy. If you're losing, place fucking 5th and try again. They don't let you get away with that anymore. And then there's a lot of charm to like the lightning strikes where you can run people over, or turning on a star and obliterating the fuck out of them. Everything felt nice. It was great. It's got a nice selection of courses. It's got a nice soundtrack. It's got everything you could need in it. But, admittedly, things have turned out better through, time. However, I don't like the coins in the fucking new Mario Karts. That's pretty fucking annoying. This game doesn't have that. I prefer that a lot more. Now, between the two, I do like Tooie a lot, but I like Kazooie a lot more because to me, it's second nature. I don't have to think about anything I'm doing. I pick it up, I play it, I go through it as fast as I can. It's a fucking habit. I enjoy myself. It's charming. I love everything they do in it. I like Tooie as well. Tooie added a lot of stuff that sits right with me, but at the same time, it feels so open-ended that it can kind of be a little bit confusing and disorienting. Kazooie was the right size. Kazooie's like, yeah, make one stop, get everything, leave. Nothing was too far and out of the way, everything was easy to find, and it was brimming with all the creativity in the world. A lot of people like the soundtrack. I don't hate it, but I don't love it more than life itself. But I love the game more than life itself because I play it multiple times a year because I'm fucking insane. And on top of that, the very end with the game show, that's such a unique idea that you don't really see in games anymore. Of all the games to rival Super Mario 64, this one, I think everyone's going to unanimously agree, was the closest to fucking doing it. All the levels were great, all the little touches they did were great, everything just felt right at home there. Alright, so if you're not a fan of mine, then this might surprise you, but if you are, then this shouldn't be a surprise. I love me the shit out of some James Bond. I don't like Goldeneye 64, I don't think it's that great. I don't hate it, I just don't think it's great. What I do think is great is The World Is Not Enough, because that took the basic layout of Goldeneye and said, alright, let's make this better. And they did it, and I hate to say it, but EA did kind of the better job than Rare. Not the better soundtrack, but when it came to adding things, it did a better job. It added better game modes, it added better weapons, it added better characters, it added fucking hugely great levels, voice acting, everything you needed it to have, it had it. Not the prettiest game, but it was also loaded and littered with a bunch of secrets and shortcuts and different ways you could do things. It's got a lot of replayability, it's not too hard unless you choose it to be hard. Then yeah, you're gonna fucking have a challenge. But it's still fucking awesome and the most enjoyable experience I've ever had. As a kid, I was obsessed with this game. I remember in 3rd grade we were supposed to talk about our week, and I talked about fucking James Bond because I was a little nerdy ass shit. Now, by no means do I dislike Majora's Mask. I love Majora's Mask. I think it's a great game. But what I like more than Majora's Mask is Ocarina of Time. Remember how I said Mario 64 felt like the perfect balance? I feel that same way about Ocarina of Time. It has this perfect balance of not too much, not too little. It's got the right amount of dungeons, it's got the right amount of side questing, it's got the right amount of everything. It's got a huge replayability to me, but not to the same degree as Banjo, because I'm not that crazy, or good at it. But I still love it, and as fucking cheesy as this sounds, back in university I remember making a paper because we were supposed to write a review on something, so I chose Ocarina of Time. Then later we were supposed to do a creative media on one of our projects, so I chose to do a video review of Ocarina of Time. And I had no idea how much I loved that game until I made that video, and I felt myself almost cry hearing Zelda's Lullaby, because I was like, holy shit, this game means a lot to me. and it still does. I really love it, I really cherish it, and it's something that I wish my kids are gonna feel about fucking whatever they feel. Hopefully that would be one of the things. It's stupid, it's corny, but that game meant a lot to me as a kid. It was a huge thing. It was the most fun. It's still got a lot of great memories to it. I still cherish it. I'm just not Cosmo. So I did my best to try and run through that as quick as I can, because 20 is a long list, and if you're doing 1 minute a game, that's going to be a 20-minute video. So that's why I tried to be as quick and to the point as I could. So I'm sorry if I don't do the game enough justice or whatever. If you want, like, clarification or whatever, ask. I'll fucking type my life story in a goddamn comment. I don't care. But you can also tell me what your opinions are, what's your favorites. I don't think I cheated too much, except for including, like, all the Rare games and all the fucking Mario games. But that was my list. I thought it would be fun to do. I've been meaning to do it for a while, and we'll do other things later. Just remember, it's only an opinion. Have fun. Bye.